Hey class, we're ready for the BFG. We're on chapter 11. It's called Journey to the Dream Country. I will show you pictures when we get to it. After a mad frobscottle party was over, Sophie settled herself again on the top of the enormous table. "You is feeling better now?" asked the big friendly giant. "Much better, thank you," Sophie said. "Whenever I is feeling a bit scrawty," the BFG said, "a few gallops of frobscottles is always making me hopscotchy again." So remember, she just drank that frobscottle drink, and it had all these fizzles that went down. "I must say, it's quite an experience," Sophie said. "It's a ras twizzler," the BFG said. "It's gloriumptious." He turned away and strode across the cave and picked up his dream-catching net. "I is galloping off now," he said, "to catch some more of those whoopsie-whiffling dreams for my collection. I is doing this every day without missing. Is you wishing to come with me?" "Not me, thank you very much," Sophie said. "Not with those other giants lurking around outside." "I is snuggling you very cozy in my pocket of the waistcoat," the BFG said. "Then no one is seeing you." Before Sophie could protest, he had picked her up off the table, plopped him inside his waistcoat jacket. "There is plenty of room in there. Is you wishing for a little hole to peep out of?" he asked her. "There's one here already," she said. She found a close, small hole in the pocket, and when she put one eye through it, she could see very well indeed. She watched the BFG as he bent down and filled his suitcase with empty glass jars. He closed the lid, picked up the suitcase with one hand, took a pole with a net in the other hand, and marched toward the entrance of the cave. As soon as he was outside, the BFG set across the great, hot, yellow wasteland where the blue rocks laid and the dead trees stood, and where all the other giants were skulking around. Sophie, squatting low on her heels in the pocket of the leather waistcoat, had one eye glued to the little hole. She saw a group of enormous giants about 300 yards ahead. "Hold your breath," the BFG whispered down to her. "Cross your fingers. Here we go. We is going right past all those other giants. Is you seeing that whooping great one? The one nearest to us?" "I see him," Sophie whispered back, quivering. "That is the horriblest of them all, and the biggest of them all. He is called Flesh-Lumping Giant." "I don't want to hear about him," Sophie said. "He is 54 feet high," the BFG said softly as he jogged along, "and he is swallowing up human beings like they sugar lumps, 2 or 3 at a time." "You're making me nervous," Sophie said. "I is nervous myself," the BFG whispered. "I always get a jumpy as a jog hopper when the flesh-lumping giant is around." "Keep away from him, okay?" Sophie pleaded. "Not possible," the BFG answered. "He's galloping easy 2 times as quick as me." "Shall we turn back?" Sophie said. "Turning back is worse," the BFG said. "If they is seeing me running away, they's giving me a chase and throwing rocks." "They would never eat you though, would they?" Sophie asked. "Giants is never guzzling other giants," the BFG said. "They is fighting and swirling a lot with each other, but never guzzling. Human beings is more tasty to them." The giants had already spotted the BFG, and all heads were turning, watching him as he jogged forward. He was aiming to pass well to the right of the group. Through the little peephole, Sophie saw the flesh-lumping giant moving over to intercept them. He didn't hurry. He just leaped over casually to point to the BFG, where he would have passed. The others looped after him. Sophie counted 9 of them altogether, and she recognized the blood butler. In the middle of them all, They were bored. They had nothing to do until nightfall. There was an air of menace around them as they looped slowly across the plain with long, loopy strides, headed for the BFG. Here comes the runty one, boomed the fleshy giant. Ho, ho there, runty one. Whereas you splash winkling around in a hurried heft. He shot out an enormous arm and grabbed the BFG by the hair. The BFG didn't struggle. He simply stopped and stood quite still. Be so kind as to let go of my hair, flesh lump-eating. The flesh lump-eating released him and stepped back a couple paces. The other giants stood around, waiting for the fun to start. Now then, you little gob squiffer, boomed the flesh-eating lumper, the flesh lump-eating. We as all of us wanting to know where you's galloping off to every day during the daytime. Nobody ought to be galloping off to anywhere until it's getting dark. The human beings could easily be spotting you and starting a giant hunt, and we's not wanting that to happen, is we? We is not, shouting the other giants. Go back to your cave, runty one. I's not galloping to any human being's country, the BFG said. I's going to other places. I is thinking, said the flesh lump-eating, that you is catching human beings and keeping them as pets. Right you is, cried the blood bottler. Just now I is hearing him chattering away in one of his caves with one of them. You is welcome to go and search my cave from front to butt, the BFG answered. You can go looking into every crook and nanny. There is no human beings in string beans or running beans or jelly beans or any other type of beans there is. Sophie crouched still as a mouse inside the BFG's pocket. She hardly dared to breathe. She was terrified she might sneeze. The slightest sound or movement would give her away. Through the tiny peephole, she watched the giants clustering around the poor BFG. How revolting they were. All of them had piggy little eyes and enormous mouths. When the flesh lump-eating was squeaking, she got a glimpse of his tongue. It was jet black, like a slab of black steak. Every one of them was more than twice as tall as the BFG. Suddenly, the flesh lump-eater shot out two enormous hands and grabbed the BFG around the waist. He tossed him high in the air and shouted, "Catch him, man-hugger!" The man-hugger caught him. The other giants spread out quickly in a large circle, each giant about 20 yards from his neighbor, preparing for the game they were going to play. Now the man-hugger threw the BFG high and far, shouting, "Catch him, Bone Cruncher!" The Bone Cruncher ran forward and caught the tumbling BFG and immediately swung him up again. "Catch him, child chewer!" he shouted. And so it went on. The giants were playing ball with the BFG, vying with each other to see who could throw him the highest. Sophie dug her nails into the side of the pocket, trying to prevent herself from tumbling out where she was upside down. She felt as though she were in a barrel going over the Niagara Falls. And all this time, there was a fearful danger that one of the giants would fail to catch the BFG, and he would go crashing to the ground. "Catch him, meat dripper! Catch him, gizzard gulper! Catch him, maid masher! Catch him, blood bottler! Catch him, catch him, catch him!" In the end, they got bored with this game. They dumped the poor FG on the ground. He was dazed and shattered. They gave him a few kicks and shouted, "Run, you little runt. Let us be seeing how fast he is galloping." The BFG ran. What else could he do? The giants picked up rocks and hurled it after him. He managed to dodge them. "Ruddy little runt," they shouted. "Troggy little twit. Shriveling little shrimp. Mucky little midget." Wow, I feel pretty bad for him. We're going to stop right there. How would you feel if you saw someone getting called those kinds of names and getting thrown around like that? Think back to when you're on the playground. Do you see that on the soccer field? Have you ever seen a friend do that to someone else? What would you do if you watched other people make fun of somebody? I want you to write about that and let me know. Share your stories.